Happy Wednesday! 恭喜发财，万事如意. It is still Chinese New Year, which is fantastic. It's probably my favorite celebration. If I had to pick a favorite. But honestly, every single celebration, it's equally exciting and fun. It's just that Chinese New Year, more family get together. So it's a lot of food, a lot of just meeting up with relatives and catching up with people, which is fantastic. I hope that you've been having a great Chinese New Year if you've been celebrating. And if you live in other parts of the world, I hope that 2020 has been off to a fantastic start for you. I want to talk about loneliness today because I've been getting a lot of messages and questions on how to recover from a heartbreak and how to not feel lonely when you're single and if you're not in a relationship. And one of the main reasons I'm inspired to talk about this today is also because I was just chatting to someone the other day, and she is having some relationship issues and doubts. And one of her biggest fears, I guess, is that she would feel lonely, without her partner. And I think that it's a very real thing, a very real fear that a lot of us humans have, because honestly, to be connected to another human being is one of the best, I guess not thing in life, but like one of the best experiences in life, I would say. Now, here's where I have to interject and say something about connection versus relationships. So a lot of us feel like we need to be in a relationship to have a connection with another human being, and this is absolutely, number one, not true. And number two, you can be in a relationship yet not have much of a connection with your partner. And so, loneliness is not like a plague where it plagues like single people. You can be in a relationship and feel incredibly lonely too. And so loneliness is really not about whether or not you're in a romantic relationship. I think it has a lot to do with the quality of our relationships with the people around us, whether it is with your neighbor, your best friend, the person who serves you coffee even, and you may feel like, oh, this person is not like your friend, but the fact that you are interacting with people in general, that's already some kind of connection. And we, I think, underestimate the value of human interaction and connection, and we overestimate the value of like being in a relationship. And the reason I say this is because we put so much emphasis on wanting to be happy in a relationship that ironically, if you ask yourself and you talk to your friends about like how many people are actually genuinely enjoying their relationship and really happy in their relationship, I would say a lot of people are not that happy in a relationship. There is a lot of frustration, a lot of resentment, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of being in a relationship. And so what I'm trying to say is that like you can be in a relationship but feel very alone. And I was talking to a friend the other day, and she has been married for like a number of years, and they have kids, and she says that she loves her husband. And I think like judging from the conversation and how she's feeling towards everything, I think there's a lot of fear of being without him as to how badly she wants to be with him. If you understand what I'm saying. I wrote a post about how loving someone is very different from the fear of losing someone, or the fear of being alone, or the fear of being lonely. Okay, I'm going to continue talking about this. If you have any comments at all about loneliness, or if you do feel lonely in some aspects of your life or sometimes, we can share it in the comments and I'll read it out loud and we can have a little chat about it. I know that this is something that, normally you don't kind of bring it up in a conversation with friends, about like loneliness and how sometimes we have a fear of nobody caring about us or nobody loving us. And I want to be able to like talk openly about this, because it's a very real thing. And I think we can help each other. And, at the very least, I want to say that you are not alone. If you're watching this, I am with you all the way. I do care so much. And even though my care may be very different from how like your best friend may care about you or the care that your parents have towards you, it doesn't mean that it's not like significant, in a way. So I just want you to know that in times where you may feel alone, you are not alone, because I am here, and everybody watching this, we're in this together. Okay, hi to everybody saying hi. Xiao Xiao, this is a Japanese name. Hi, this is Kellen, Madam from Cambodia, Bien May from Paris, bonjour. Michelle asks, why do we feel insecure in a relationship? I'll get to that. Hi Asmin, hi Gwen. Why do humans feel insecure in a relationship? Hi Cheryl, hi Laurent, hi Marlon, hi Sean. I have a partner, but he doesn't treasure me at all. Grace, I'm glad that you're here. Rayanne, I'm so glad that you think the videos are awesome. I hope that they continue contributing to your life. Zandy here says, if they make you feel lonely, then you are in a bad relationship. Just leave and be happy. Austin, Melanie from Florida, Claudia, I feel lonely, you should refuse my lights. Don't exactly know what that means, but sort of. Nguyen from Vietnam, Vivian, hi. Okay, so I want to address some of your comments. Like Sean here says, I have a partner, but doesn't treasure me at all. Michelle is asking about insecurity, and Zandy here says, if someone makes you feel lonely, then you're in a bad relationship, and then you should just leave and be happy. Now, I want to address all of these, and I think they are kind of like all interlinked. And number one, human beings have an ego. We all do. And our ego is made up of our fears and our needs. Our ego is always trying to seek external validation for us to feel significant, right? This is, I guess, the imprint of every single human being. Now, when we recognize this, we can sort of hack our own ego and understand that, hey, I don't need a lot of praise. I don't need a lot of recognition. I don't actually need to depend on, how successful I am in my career, how much money I'm making, or what you think about me, or how much people love me or don't love me to feel significant. And I think we all have to understand that at the very core of us, every single human being are only seeking very few things, right? We seek significance, so we want to feel like we matter, and that we are seen, and we just want to be loved, right? And I think that all of us have different levels of fears and needs, and so therefore some of us may have a lot of fear of being alone. We have a lot of fear of being not enough, like we have a lot of need to prove that we are worthy, or that we are worthy of love, or we are significant. And I think that different people at different levels of that. And so when you're in a relationship and you don't really know what your needs and fears are, then all you end up feeling is like, oh, I feel insecure. Like that's what you relate to, the feeling of insecurity. So what can really help is for you to understand yourself and be kind towards yourself. You're human, you have needs and fears, and so do a lot of other people. Everyone is just different, and you need to know and understand, what is it that you fear? Is it that you fear being alone? Right? Is it that you fear that you're not enough, or not pretty enough, or not successful enough, or not interesting enough? Like, what is it? And a lot of what we feel about ourselves are very linked to our upbringing. It's linked to what happened when we were kids, and it's also linked to our nature, the person that we are born as, what we carry forward into this life, right? I mean, like, who can explain why some people are the way they are and why we are the way we are? And so it's such a worthwhile journey to understand ourselves. And you know what? Like, I find that we probably spend more time trying to understand somebody else. We spend more time trying to understand our partner than we spend time trying to understand ourselves. And this time that we spend trying to mold somebody, trying to change somebody, we can spend in understanding what our needs and fears are. And so then slowly we'll understand what makes us insecure. And maybe one day we'll stop using the word insecure and just have a very compassionate and understanding approach towards our fears and our needs. And once we have that, then we can let those fears and needs go. And we can give ourselves the validation and the significance that we have been seeking from our partner. Like so many of us want to be in a relationship, but we don't know why. Right? Like honestly, if you talk to people who are in relationship people have relationship problems. Whatever insecurities that you're having right now, having a relationship will not take it away. It will not solve it. Sometimes it compounds it, right? And so we want to be in a relationship because we fear being alone or we fear being insignificant. However, when we're in a relationship, guess what? Those insecurities remain. And this is one of the main reasons why we can be in a relationship but still feel lonely. Like Gwen here says, alone but not lonely. Sometimes we are not in a relationship and we can feel completely not lonely. We may be alone in our house, we may be alone in doing our chores or going on a vacation or traveling, but we don't feel lonely because there's this element of human connection that we're always cultivating, which I'll go in a little bit more. I also want to address the fact that, early on there was a comment that says that if you're in a bad relationship, then you should just leave, or, I'm with my partner, but my partner doesn't treasure me. And I think that, we have to be very honest with why we're in the relationship. Honestly, a relationship is like an exchange. I don't want it to sound like it's a business transaction. It is not. But it is some sort of transaction, but with the elements of love and kindness and understanding and giving, right? And that's what makes relationships a partnership. And that's what makes it so wonderful. Now, if your partner doesn't treasure you, well, the question you have to ask yourself is, well, what do I need to feel treasured? And why do I need that? You know how there's this book called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, and it's amazing. It's like a breakdown of the different love languages that we all have. Quality time, receiving gifts, physical touch, there's a few other, 2 more, right? It's amazing, and it gives us an understanding of what we want or what we need to feel loved. However, one of the main problems with understanding or identifying our love language is that we are stereotyping and also boxing in ourselves and other people. So for example, if you're like, oh my God, I identify with physical touch, that's why I need my partner to be super affectionate, or I identify with receiving gifts, that's why I feel special when my partner remembers my birthdays and when they buy me gifts, or I identify with quality time, and this is why when my partner doesn't spend enough time with me, I get really upset, right? So once we identify with that, right, this is what I need to feel loved and treasured, I think the next step we need to do is to ask ourselves, why do I need this? Why do I need proof, right, that our partner loves us in a very specific way? And I was just having a conversation with my mom about why is it that we keep craving signs of love in a way that we want to receive it? And so, for example, myself and Yuri, right? And I've always liked my partner or boyfriends in the past carrying my shopping bags, or offering to carry my bag for me, or when something is heavy, they offer to carry it for me, and it makes me feel very loved, right? So acts of service is one of my love languages. And then I identify that, and I go oh, I really like having a partner who offers to do these things for me. Now, the next step I have to ask myself is, okay, now why do I even identify with this as like my love language? You know, why do I feel like I need this to feel loved, or I want this? And if my boyfriend or my ex-boyfriends or my even Yuri doesn't do it, then why do I feel like upset or like I feel not loved? You know, why? And I realized that, well, in the environment where I grew up, like my dad used to do everything for my brother and myself, and he does everything for my mom, right? Like he'll go marketing, he'll, you know, make Milo in the morning for us, and he'll carry my books to the car, and if I have my luggage, my dad will carry it for me. You know, like my dad used to do all of these stuff. And so that's one of the reasons. But it doesn't really matter after you identified it, because then the next thing is like, okay, so how important is this to me in believing that my partner loves me? So this is the most important question. This is step 3, right? Because after you've identified like what your love language is or what you need to feel loved, and you identified like why you need it, right? Then you go into like, can I let this need go and still feel loved, right? Because your partner may be giving you so much love in other aspects that you've not identified with, but they are giving it to you. So for example, when it comes to Yuri, right, he really is very patient with me, you know, like when we're having a disagreement or something is difficult to talk about, like he will sit there and he'll take his time, even though he's tired or whatever it is, he'll take his time to sit there with me and work through it, right? And that, you know, it's a showcase of love. And I was talking to my mom about like, why is it that we always insist on seeing love on our terms, and if our partner doesn't, you know, meet our standards of how we want to feel loved, then we start to feel like they don't care. So the third question is really to ask ourselves, like, can I let this need go? And the fourth question is, do I believe that my partner loves me? Because if you believe that your partner loves you, then I think it's very important to identify the acts of love or the showcases of love that your partner gives to you, right? Because if not, you can be in a relationship and then feel incredibly lonely, like he doesn't care, but maybe he does. And so like, you know, with regards to the question of like, if your partner doesn't treasure you or you don't feel treasured, I think you have to talk about it, and you have to understand yourself enough to be able to convey what I've just mentioned, all these things, to talk about it exactly like this with your partner. You know, work through it with partner. Oh, I feel this way because I think that, you know, my upbringing and conditioning is like that, and this is what I need and what I prefer, but I understand that and I'm working on it, you know, and I want to be able to identify the other ways which you love me, but please give me time. And in the meantime, you know, I'm just gonna let you know my preference, right? This is what I like, and you yourself have to work on like understanding that when you convey your preference to your partner, it doesn't mean that they have to like immediately agree. A lot of people don't agree because it's not what they understand or what they believe in, you know. And so we have to allow people to be who they are. Just because somebody loves you doesn't mean they're going to immediately get what you're saying. It's not that they're going to immediately embrace your beliefs. They may never embrace your belief. And you know, some people come from different religious backgrounds and they can stay together even though they pray differently, you know what I mean? And it's really possible if we learn to not take everything people do that we don't like as a sign that they don't care. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna read some comments. So, Shahila says, he does not want to talk to me at all, but I'm missing him. What should I do? I think it really depends on whether you are in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, then we can't force somebody. I mean, even if you are in a relationship, you can't really force somebody to talk to you. Yeah. Theory, how should I deal with a trust issue to keep the relationship? Now, I recently just made a video on trust. It's going to be out next week. So if you keep an eye out for it, it'll definitely be helpful. Loneliness can be scary at times, Victoria here says. The silence can be deafening. With social pressure, going to the movies alone and dining alone can be scary. You tend to be afraid of people to judge, but I want to share that you should be brave. Embrace loneliness. It's okay to dine alone. It's okay to do things alone. It'll make you feel independent and empowered. I think that it's so true that the silence can be deafening, and I think the social pressure of people judging us, when you're single, it's kind of like when you don't have kids, like Yuri and I have been married for like 10 years and we don't have kids, and it's by choice right now that we haven't decided whether we want kids or not. And I think like for people who do have kids and they love having kids, they might look at us and go like, oh, poor thing. So similarly, people in relationships and they can, because, and it's not so much that sometimes people enjoy being in a relationship, because like I was saying earlier, you can be in a relationship but yet not really enjoy it. You can be in a relationship yet have so much frustration and resentment towards your partner, but yet at the same time you can feel so sorry for your friends who are single. And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, why do we pity people who are single? Like, honestly, some of the best people I know, like I have a friend, Chris, who lives in Shanghai. He is absolutely amazing and he is single. And it's not like he doesn't want a relationship, but the point is like his life is so fulfilled and he enjoys everything that he does, and he's always learning new things. He's from Australia and he learns Mandarin. He's always challenging himself to live a better life, and he's so curious about everything. And like, he's an amazing person living an amazing life. Now, if he doesn't meet somebody who can bring that kind of value into his life, then perhaps, he can have more joy not being in a relationship. And so what I'm saying is this, right? A lot of us feel like a relationship is the solution to a lot of anxiety and stress and fears that we are feeling. Now, what happens is that when we are in the relationship, we can discover that our fears and anxiety and anger and everything, it's still there, right? In a relationship, sometimes, like I said, it compounds. It becomes even bigger in the relationship. But yet, we're unable to see that it is not the relationship that's making us miserable. It is not whether we're single or whether we are in a relationship. The fact of loneliness and how we can feel alone is that we feel like we're not supported. We feel like our partner or anybody don't understand us, and we don't feel like somebody has our back. And you can be in a relationship and yet not feel any of that, that you're alone, that you're lonely, right? And so we have to understand that in order, and this is now I'm going into how to not feel lonely, right? For me, what I think can really help and really work is you live an amazing life. And what I mean by this is this, right? How interesting are we? Are we an enjoyable person to be with? And this is not like if you have kids, right? This is not just like towards partners or potential partners. One of my friends in Australia, she was saying this to me, and it was a simple sentence, right? And it really struck me. And she was saying that I want to enjoy my kids, and I want my kids to enjoy me. And that was such a powerful statement, because a lot of the times we have kids and we want to have kids, so we enjoy having kids, right? Or like they bring us so much joy. But do your kids enjoy you? It's spending time with you, fun and enjoyable and enriching and inspiring. And are they learning? Are they feeling good about themselves? That's very, very different, right? And so when we're with our partner, or if you are single, what really, really helps us not feel lonely in either category is for us to live an amazing life, right? We have to be interesting. And I think that it's not that you have to be interesting to impress other people, although it does make you a lot more attractive. We have to be interesting to fulfill ourselves. Because it is only when we are making something, when we are creating something, when we're giving something, when we're contributing something, that we learn And it is only when we learn and we grow as a person that we fulfill an aspect of ourselves, you know? And I think like we all want our partner to change, to be this, to be that, or we want a relationship where, oh my God, you know, this guy is so perfect, or this woman is so perfect, and you know, and we envy other people's relationships, and we wish that our partner was more like this or more like that. And we look at all of this, right? And we're like, oh, you want to be with amazing people. But again, the question is, why do these amazing people want to be with you, right? And this is the question I ask myself, even though I am married, right? And I was just talking to my mom about this too, that, you know, Yuri and I have been married for 10 years, and I find him like so much more attractive today than when I first married him. And I think that the reason I find him so much more attractive today is because he, on his own, outside of trying to impress me or trying to do things for me, he on his own have other interests outside of me. You know, he loves music, he loves his job, he loves what he's doing, and he's constantly like trying to improve himself, is trying to learn different skills, you know, and he shares what he has learned and everything, you know, and I find that very, very inspiring, you know, and I feel like I find him interesting, and I think that's the thing, like. And when I see him like this, I realize I think like I have to step up my game, right? Like I have to be interesting. Like just because you're married doesn't mean that, you know, that's it, right? You're gonna be all together forever, and the love's gonna be there, and you're gonna like get on like a house on fire, and everything is fine. You know, like I think when any two human beings are together, or even a group of people are together, like you want to be able to have this energy and this kind of like inspiration towards each other, right? And so for me, I'm like, okay, I want to be able to live an amazing life, because I feel like that will make me more interesting as a person, and therefore maybe my partner will find me more interesting. Maybe my partner will enjoy talking to me more, because I have different things to contribute. Like I have my own life, right? Xandria here says, good point. It's true, you have to love yourself first. Relationships can magnify the smallest detail of emotions, and it can make you feel lonely when you don't get what you expect. And it hits the nail on the head. It's true. It makes us feel lonely when we don't get what we expect. And that's the other thing, right? It is not that our partner is making us lonely. It is what's in our head. A lot of like these standards that we've put about like how our partner should be and what love must be, you know, all these are conditions on our happiness. Right? And this is something that Yuri and I will talk about tomorrow, because it's a topic for tomorrow, which is standards. M here says, MJ, hi. Our triggers, attachment issues, and childhood traumas are mostly manifested in our relationship. Very, very true. Which is why understanding ourselves is so important. Azilana, I can relate to your topic. It's some kind of my outlet whenever I watch your videos. I'm so glad. Gracie here says, I've been dating for like almost 9 months. So we had happy moments, no arguments at all. But he suddenly one day says he doesn't love me. And the way he treats me, I feel love though. So I want to understand what happened, as I can't move on until now. It's almost 2 years. You know what, Gracie? In situations like these, I feel like we want answers because we feel like we want closure, and we feel like we can't move on without answers and without closure. And if you ask yourself and you're really honest with yourself, like why that's the case, it usually is because we feel like there's something wrong with us until we know what the real reason is. So if somebody treats us well and we think they love us and they say they love us, suddenly they disappear or they have an affair or they abandon us, we feel like we have no closure and we feel like we can't move on. And the real reason, when you are really honest with yourself, is because you have some sort of blame towards yourself, or you feel like you're paranoid that it has something to do with you. that this person just up and left, right? And so therefore you keep seeking answers because you want the answer to take away that discomfort that you're feeling, that you want confirmation that it's not you, that there's nothing wrong with you. And this is why it's so hard to move on when there's no communication, you have no answers from the person. And this is something I write about in my book, right? Where we cannot hope for closure from another person. Closure is something that only you can give to yourself. So this jail, this prison that you feel like this person has put you in, actually you are the person who has the key to this prison, right? Because it's up to you how you want to feel about yourself, right? People's actions are not a reflection of us. And of course, when you're in a relationship, it takes two hands to clap. You're going to make mistakes. He's going to make, or she's going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. And you're both human. But at the end of the day, people's actions are a reflection of themselves. So if this guy has upped and left you with no explanation, right, you can choose to live with some kind of fear and discomfort that maybe like it's you, and you're so fearful that it may be you, that you can't even move on, right? And that's you holding yourself imprisoned, right? And so here's the thing, we can't force someone to tell us something, we can't force them to talk to us, we can't force them to be honest with us. What we can do, however, is focus on valuing ourselves. We can focus on living an amazing life. And if you feel like some part of you may have driven the person away because of your character, your personality, or some kind of insecurity, well, use it as a chance right now to work on yourself so that you gain more confidence and self-belief, right? And you have practice more compassion and love towards yourself, right? Whatever it is, what has happened is in the past. So whatever conversation you're going to have with this guy is not going to like magically erase everything that's happened, So we cannot change the past, but your future is something that you have absolute power over. Let's see. Lawrence, is love eternal or not at all? I think this is a question that everybody has a different answer to. I personally think that life is not eternal. Like, we're not immortal. So, and I think that love flows and ebbs, and I think that it has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves. So I think like the more love we give towards ourselves, the more love can flow towards other people. Grace, says, before I feel lonely all the time, but as soon as I know and get to know more about myself, then I feel different and more happy. Yay, that's so good. Your videos and YouTube help me a lot to understand more about myself. That's so great to know, and it really like motivates me to make more videos. Someone says, hi Xandria. Hello Xandria. Is this Japanese character or Mandarin? I think it's Japanese. Hello Xandria, I hope you can answer this. What is this? I'm not seeing the question. So let's see. Sienna here says, I recently learned that I should exert energy, time, and attention to myself and not others. If I'm seeking attention from someone else, then it's my fear of being alone. I should be completely happy and comfortable with my lonesome, embrace being alone. My mom, she's been married to my dad for 32 years, and they got divorced like 8 years ago, and my mom has never felt lonely. And we were just talking about this, I think yesterday, and I think one of the main reasons is because like my mom lives a very full life, and it's not like, people ask my mom like, don't you feel lonely or don't you miss him, and for my mom, I think that because she understands that her life is so valuable and she has so much love and respect for herself, and she values her time on earth, like she understands that her time is not like infinite, and so every day she has things to do that brings her some sort of joy, right? She likes to read, she likes watching Korean dramas, she likes to hang out with me, my brother, and Yuri and all, and we go for dinners and stuff, and she likes traveling, and she really, enjoys keeping the house a certain way, and even ironing is something that she enjoys. And so like my mom does not like feel lonely because she is living her life in a way that fulfills her. And I think that you can be in a relationship and feel lonely because you're not living life in a way that fulfills you. And so a lot of us use work as an excuse to not feel fulfilled. Like, oh, I'm only doing this because I have no choice, and because, like, I'm not like you get to do what you want and what you love. I don't love what I do, and therefore I'm more miserable and all that kind of things. And I feel like it's so true that some of us and some of us have more freedom in terms of what we can do for our career than others, because of obligations, financial difficulties, or circumstances. But whatever it is, if you're already doing something, like, the choice to be happy is not about like the choice of being able to choose what you can do or cannot do. The choice of being happy is in whatever that you're doing right now, in this very moment. You have to choose whether you want to be happy about it or you want to be miserable about it. You have to make the choice, basically, to accept what's going on or to reject the reality of what's going on. And if you constantly choose to reject the reality of what's going on, it means you keep thinking that you have no choice but to do something. And that's where your suffering is coming from. Because the fact is, right now, at this very moment, it is already happening. You're already doing it, right? And so at every part of our lives, we have to train ourselves to want to do the thing that we're doing. We have to, right? It's like, one of the biggest secrets to happiness is don't do anything you don't want to do, and just do things you want to do. And on the surface, it can sound a lot like, I don't like to clean the house, or I don't like to wash the dishes, and I don't like to smile at people, so I'm just not going to do the things I don't like to do. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this, like, you got to do what is practical for you to do, and you got to do like what actually can lift yourself up. So things like, clearing the house, keeping your house neat, or smiling at people and smiling in general, it really lifts you up, and it provides you with a certain kind of life that can be very enjoyable. What I mean is that we have to not do the things we don't want to do and do the things we want to do. It's all here, right? So when you are already doing something, it already indicates that there is some part of you that needs to do it, right? If not, you wouldn't even be doing it in the first place, right? It's only logical. And so when you're already doing that thing, right, it is up to you to tell yourself, this is what I want to do. Right? So even if you're working in a job that you don't really like, you want that job because you know that it pays for your children's education, or it pays for your vacations, or whatever it is. You want to be there. Right? Even when you're dealing with a very difficult person, or person you find difficult, you want to be in that conversation because you are having the conversation. If you didn't want to have the conversation, you would have already ended the conversation. And you can say that, oh, I have no choice, it's my boss, I have to talk to him. Well, then he's your boss because you want him to be your boss. No, I don't want him to be my boss. No. You are in the job. You want that job. And by default, it means that that's your boss and that's what you want. Which means by default, the conversation that you're having is also what you want. And we have to know this very, very clearly. Otherwise, we'll become a victim of other people. We'll become a victim of our circumstance. The honest truth is that we have to know what our objective is. Because we, again, like I say, one of the best things that we can do for our happiness is to understand ourselves. We have to understand what drives us. We have to understand what our objectives are. You are only in that relationship because you want to be. And sometimes, like a job, it may be difficult to leave, even if you feel like it's not healthy for you. But difficult, it doesn't mean impossible. And sometimes we need some time with ourselves to really evaluate what our needs and fears are, and to be able to be at peace with them. Then we can exit something that is not so healthy for us. You're not stupid if you feel lonely. You're not stupid if you're having problems in a relationship. You're not stupid if you are still in a relationship that's toxic. You're human. And we human beings are driven by our fears and needs, our ego, basically. And the flip side of the ego is our sense of self. If it's our self-esteem, right? It's how much we value and love ourselves. And the more we focus on understanding ourselves and focusing on being intrinsically motivated and being intrinsically happy with who we are, then the less we'll need to seek validation to feel significant. Yeah. Amos here says some people desire attention, so they're dramatic to show. I think we can focus on our emotions, needs, and work on it. Yeah, I think that we all want attention, you know, like kids, right? Just because we're grown ups doesn't mean that we don't want attention. And when you really think about it, sometimes bad behavior, or, you know, when you're upset with your partner and you're yelling or you're giving the silent treatment, you know, these are all signs that we just want attention. And again, if you understand yourself, then you'll be able to see yourself reacting this way when that's happening. Yes. So I think, let's see, someone says like, I hope you can help me, but what's your question? Okay, so Laika here says, I get lonely when my partner talks with other girls. I know he is committed to me and to our relationship, but I still slightly get jealous. How do I overcome it? First of all, understand that you're human, like I said. And obviously, even like, you know, I remember like back then, even when Yuri, you know, chats with girls or he thinks somebody is like inspiring or attractive, you know, I would feel a little bit like, you know, like I don't quite like that feeling. And it's not what you feel initially. I think it's more about what you do after that, you know, and it's not about doing as in like go tell your partner or whatever it is. It's a lot of internal doing. So then you have to ask yourself like, hey, you know, what is it that I feel uncomfortable about? You know, like, is it that I feel like I'm not good enough and that this person seems more accomplished than I am? Or is it that I just want my partner to focus all his attention on me to make me feel important? Or does that mean that I don't feel important? Like I don't give enough importance to myself? Like, do I not value myself enough? Like everything comes back to you. Right? So when you understand yourself and you understand this about, then you can manage it better, because then you can look at the situation and go, okay, well, it's fine that my partner enjoys himself or my partner enjoys herself, right? Because just because you are in a relationship doesn't mean that they cannot enjoy the company of another person. And this is something that we ourselves have to acknowledge, right? Because you also will meet people whom you enjoy the company of, and maybe you have chemistry, right? And here's the thing, right? When your partner has chemistry with another person, it doesn't mean they love you any less. So this is why I think it's so important to live an amazing life, because no, like your partner, even if they're attracted to somebody else, if you are inspiring and if you are kind and if you value yourself and if you have your own interests and you're growing, you will be very attractive to your partner too, right? And they're coming home to you every day, right? And so I do feel like it's not like a competition where we're trying to be more attractive than other people, but I really think that if you value yourself and you're growing and you're putting effort into your own growth and happiness, you become this interesting, attractive person. And even if your partner meet other people whom they find interesting, you know, I think that they would still want to be with you. And I think that even when you're married, this is something that still applies, right? Because there are 8 billion people in this world, you know? Like, we're not even in a relationship. It's not like you're blind or deaf. Or like, it's not like, even when you are blind or deaf, right? Like, blind people and deaf people, they're still attracted to people, right? And so, yeah. Like, I'm so glad that it makes sense, you know? And it's not, you don't have to feel bad for being jealous. I think, like, you know, everyone who's human have experienced that sort of emotion at some point when you're in a relationship. And I think it's a great thing because it highlights an opportunity for us to understand ourselves better. So yeah, okay, I want to read this comment. How to not feel lonely, Gwen. I do the Xandria effect. Oh, what's that? Like, okay, I'm lonely. It's normal to feel this way. How can I let go of this feeling, etc., etc. Oh, so this is Xandria effect. You know, now that you've mentioned it, I guess it is how I process things, right? Okay, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling upset, or I'm feeling lonely, or I'm feeling unmotivated, and I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling jealous, or I'm feeling whatever. It's fine, I'm human. Don't be cruel to yourself, don't blame yourself. Now examine why you're feeling this way and how you can let the feeling go. Right? And I think this is a very, I don't know if it's a healthy process, but I find it's a healthy process for myself, right? Because I find that I give myself a lot of understanding, and I give myself a lot of compassion, and then I also give myself a lot of honesty, and and with compassion and understanding and kindness towards myself, it gives me the courage to dig deeper, to be very honest, to see my weaknesses and my flaws. Because I feel like when I reject myself all the time, or if I feel like, oh, Xandria, you shouldn't feel this way, oh, you're such a bad person for feeling this way, oh, how can you feel this way? If I think like that, right, then I feel like I wouldn't dare to venture so deep, to look at my deepest fears and insecurities and needs, you know. But I feel like when I am understanding towards myself and I go, it's okay, you're human, right? There's no right or wrong, there's no normal or abnormal. You're just feeling what you're feeling, and it's okay. So this is how I would speak to a child, really, you know. So I speak to myself that way, right? And then now, what do you want to do about it, right? Do you believe that once a cheater is always a cheater? I really feel like I don't like to categorize or generalize that way. I think that every single human being are driven by very different motivations. And even a person who's addicted to, say, sugar and dessert can completely change their diet, or a person who loves meat can be vegan. And a person who has murdered somebody can spend the rest of their life contributing to society. And a person who has betrayed you can actually be very loyal in their other relationships. So I don't know, right? And some people just repeat the same toxic pattern over and over again too. So there's no, like, if you like, it's like saying if English is your first language, then that's going to be your main language for the rest of your life. Who knows, if you move to like Germany, maybe German could be like your main language for the rest of your life, right? So there's no like generalization. I really feel like you have to examine and not like treat people like they're guilty until proven innocent, you know, like take everybody at face value. And if they do something that hurts you, then I think you need to talk about it, you need to examine it, and you got to decide if you want to still with this person. MJ says it's a very healthy process, and thank you for reminding me to practice it, because I think I've been hard on myself lately. Yeah, I'm so glad that this can help, because don't be hard on yourself. Because when you ask yourself, is being hard on myself helping me? Most of the time it's not really helping you. Yeah. Yes, Diana, that's right. Cindy here says you use humor so well in demonstrating self-talk to your inner child. Really? I didn't even notice that I was like using humor, but yeah, maybe, like life is not to be taken seriously. Like I feel like, so many things are just so funny when I really think about it. Okay, Winnie here says, I think I was made more lonely when my dear gaslighted me by nullifying my feelings towards him and then blaming me for feeling more than him. But I've come to terms that it's the way he is and it's not about me. As long as you're at peace, yeah. Gwen Tan here says, I broke up a year back. I'm extroverted and make many plans to meet up with friends very often. After the breakup, I felt very unmotivated to socialize. I don't feel like talking about what happened. And I know people who truly care try not to bring it up too. Those that I feel don't really matter, so I have not been making plans to meet people. How should I walk out of it? I think that a lot of it has to do with pride. And so I think that, if you're able to be vulnerable and honest with yourself, then you're able to acknowledge what has happened. And if you're able to not be defensive, even in your inner thoughts and in your reflection, then it really helps you interact with people on a very genuine level. I mean, so you've broken up, so what? Like people break up all the time in this world. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy. It doesn't mean that, don't worry so much about what people may be thinking about you, you know, because you don't know what people are thinking anyway. So why assume the worst, right? So yeah, so just go live your life. Yeah. So I hope that you've enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much for joining me. Yuri and I will be back tomorrow, and we've already been discussing what we want to talk about tomorrow, which is kind of rare. Usually we decide on the spot, but Yuri feels very passionate about the topic of standards and how having standards can be very similar to putting conditions on our life, and what we can actually practice in our life to live a quality and improve life and grow without standards, and why. So if you want to hear more about that, you can tune in tomorrow at 9 p.m. GMT plus 8. Thank you so much. Have a great Wednesday and be happy always.